Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. Today I want to have a look at the lead wrist and how it could move through the takeaway phase to give you more opportunity to move well throughout the rest of your backswing down into delivery. Okay, so I'm going to start off by just putting up a 3D graph here that reflects three different movements. What we're looking at is the flexion and extension of the wrist, the ulnar deviation and radial deviation of the wrist, and the pronation and supination. So pronation and supination actually stems from the elbow. Pronation is when the two bones in the forearm cross. Supination is when they're uncrossed. So in the graph there, I just want to focus on the pronation-supination line and the ulnar and radial deviation lines. And those are the two lines that match. So you can see them there flowing very much similar to each other. And what that is reflecting is that in the takeaway position, you can see there where the hand typically in most places is going to sit in an ulnar deviated position here and a supinated position. How they move nicely together and like flow together in that initial move there. So a couple of references. The toe nice and smoothly working up at a nice rate, a smooth rate, rather than staying maybe that way and then working faster open. Working up at a smooth rate there is reflected in the smoothness of the graph dropping, but also the wrist moving from ulnar towards radial at a nice rate as well. So nice little bit of feedback for that one is from face on. We're not going to move really quickly and hinge it up. It's going to have that nice reach away with the arm working across the body into this position here. And a nice reference point for takeaway that I've shared for players for a long time now is that if you move away one-handed in this to that takeaway position, club head just outside the hands, it should feel as though the club is very manageable in this position. So what I mean by that is it feels at its lightest. So if I was to go here, the club head wants to pull down this way. If I go this way, almost the weight of the head wants to pull it down that way. So in that takeaway move there, that nice reach, that nice flowing opening of the toe, of the face, getting that way is where it's at its lightest. And also from face on, it's probably the best angle for this. When I do that, the right hand goes on, should be able to be nice, long, nicely relaxed. There's got a lot of space there to get into a nice arm structure at the top of the backswing. So there's some of that evidence of if we do a nice job in the start, it really helps moving into the rest of the swing. So a couple of drills here to work on I've got for you. Some of you may have seen this one. You get into your setup position, you don't need a club for this one. You just let your arms hang. We're going to go left on top of right, and then we're going to move away that way. We're getting that nice reach, that nice stretch across the lead side. You'll notice if I use the stick when doing this, there's not a huge shift of the rib cage as I do it there. But at the same time, if we were to crudely use the badge on the glove here for the pronation-supination, it just nice and smoothly works to it's facing the camera more. And also the wrist, you could even angle it down a little bit for that ulnar deviation. Through to here, it's in a more neutral position. Okay, second drill that I have for you. Sorry there, just a vehicle passing by. Hope that didn't really drown out too much of the audio. But second drill I've shown before, and I just think it's an excellent one that I picked up from Dr. Brendan in the gym actually. And if I put that under my right foot, this band here, sorry, other way actually, I'm going to go this way, and I wrap it around the front and back of my leg like so, my trail leg, and then go up over my shoulder here, and I put it in there. I can actually get a nice feel there of how that lead arm works and how the wrist there is in a nice neutral-ish position. So by neutral-ish, I mean not too much flexion or extension there, pretty neutral at this point here, and neutral from radial and ulnar deviation there. So really nice feel there. You can use two hands to get into that position. You can see, once again, I'm not shifting too much off that stick there. Just in a bonus point to keep in mind, that if in the takeaway, the lead wrist moves into flexion, So we get this bowed look here, we've called it in the golf swing. That really eliminates a lot of the range we have from an ulnar and radial deviation point of view. So as far as like moving upwards into radial, it's really, you could even try it there. If you go into flexion and then try and move into radial, you're going to be vastly limited, as opposed to if you were more in a neutralist position from a flexion extension standpoint. So just keep that in mind, because as far as supporting that club there, it's going to be more challenging to have the wrist move in a, let's just say, a more optimum way if we get into flexion in those early phases of the swing. So that's a nice one just to keep in mind. So a couple of drills there, and another video on setup and takeaway. Hopefully something in this one will connect with you. If it doesn't, then maybe check some of the other ones I got out there. But if you're struggling with your takeaway, or if you want to clean up your takeaway, you can always look back at your setup as well. The better you set up, the more opportunity you have of moving well through the start of your swing.